Baruch here with genConnect.com, and I'm joined by Dan Gross, the president of the Brady Campaign to End Gun Violence. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Gun violence. What really is it that's getting in the way of enacting true reform around having guns?
Congress, on a national level, Congress isn't representing either the will or the well-being of the people that they've been elected to represent. And that's happening because the overwhelming majority of Americans out there that are supportive of measures like expanded background checks are not holding our elected officials accountable. But inspiringly and hearteningly, there is a genuine sense that that's starting to change, that it started to change after this last vote that happened in the Senate. We're just not all the way there yet. So we have to take the heat that does exist and ratchet it up.
What really has to be changed about the messaging in really trying to enact the reform that you're working on?
I think we need to really think about this issue not in terms of whether we're gun owners or non-gun owners, or Republicans or Democrats, or even in terms of just our sympathy around tragedies that happen to other people, but we have to think about it in terms of how to make this the better, safer nation that we all want. We just need to reframe the whole conversation in our country. And the reality is, you look, 90% of Americans supported background checks. There's not disagreement. In fact, there's almost unprecedented, for any other issue, there's unprecedented agreement. We just need to kind of change the dynamics of the conversation. So this is about people making their voices heard for their own well-being, not just because of the sympathy of what happened to other people, which is very important as a catalyst. But how do we just we all, whether you own a gun or not, none of us want guns to be sold to convicted domestic abusers or convicted felons, and we just need to have the conversation on that level and to hold our elected officials accountable for the extent to which there's a disconnect between what the American public wants and what our elected officials are doing about it. I think another important component is we need to demonstrate to the American public that our voices really can make a difference. We've seen the polling that's come out since this last vote that happened in the Senate, where the senators that voted against the legislation, their popularity has gone down, and the ones who voted for it or sponsored it, in the case of Senator Toomey from Pennsylvania, a state that has a lot of people who own guns and belong to the NRA, their popularity's gone up. So we need to, and that's been, kind of a manifestation of this new voice of the American public that is willing to hold our elected officials accountable. We're just not all the way there yet.
What role has Representative Gabrielle Giffords played in you actually being able to achieve the progress you want to achieve?
I think she's a very important voice in this conversation. As somebody who has experienced gun violence firsthand, as I have in my family, calling national attention to it. But the important thing to point out is she's, and also as somebody who was an A-rated NRA politician, somebody who has a heritage in her family and her life of gun ownership. She and Mark are still are proud gun owners, and demonstrating that this isn't a culture war between people who own guns and people who don't. This is a kind of unified front among the American public just to make this a safer country, and they've really exemplified that well. And one of the really encouraging things that's happening is it's not all about Newtown. It's not all about Gabby Giffords. It's not all about the Brady Campaign. It's all of these voices coming from all corners of our society, and that's really what we need to succeed. This issue has to transcend being about partisan politics, being about labels, being about organizations, and being this organic voice that's coming from the American public.
Dan Gross, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
And to learn more about Dan Gross and his work on gun control, be sure to check out genConnect.com.